What happens when one of the biggest stars in entertainment sits down for what should be a routine interview, only to find herself in the most explosive confrontation daytime television has ever witnessed? The tension that erupted between Jennifer Lopez and Sunny Hostin on The View didn't just make headlines. It completely shattered the carefully maintained facade of celebrity PR tours. This wasn't your typical awkward moment or uncomfortable exchange. This was a full-scale verbal battle that ended with security getting involved and a superstar being escorted off set. And the whole thing was captured on live television. Before we get into exactly what went down, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think really caused this explosion. Because trust me, by the end of this story, you're going to have some theories. The morning started like any other day on The View. Jennifer Lopez was scheduled to appear as part of her promotional tour, the kind of appearance that usually goes smoothly, with pre-approved talking points and friendly banter. The producers had everything mapped out, the segments were planned, and everyone expected the usual dance of compliments and carefully crafted answers. But from the moment Jennifer walked onto that stage, something felt different. The energy was off. Whoopi Goldberg opened the segment with her trademark warmth, welcoming Jennifer to the table with genuine enthusiasm. The audience erupted in applause as Jennifer took her seat, flashing that million-dollar smile that has captivated audiences for decades. The first few minutes played out exactly as expected. They talked about her latest project, touched on her career longevity, and the conversation flowed with the kind of ease that comes from years of media training on both sides. Then Sunny Hostin leaned forward. Now, Sunny has built her reputation on asking the tough questions, on pushing past the surface-level pleasantries that often dominate celebrity interviews. But what she said next shifted the entire atmosphere in the room. She brought up the recent criticism Jennifer had faced regarding her work ethic and treatment of staff members, allegations that had been circulating in various media outlets but hadn't been directly addressed in such a public forum. Jennifer's smile tightened. You could see it happen in real time, that subtle shift from relaxed celebrity to someone preparing for battle. She responded with a measured tone, suggesting that people don't understand the pressure and demands of maintaining a career at her level, that sometimes tough decisions have to be made, and not everyone is going to be happy about it. Sunny nodded, but she wasn't done. She followed up by mentioning specific reports, not gossip or rumors, but documented accounts from people who had worked with Jennifer. She asked, in that direct way of hers, whether Jennifer felt any responsibility to address these concerns, to perhaps acknowledge that her behavior might have contributed to some of these negative experiences. The temperature in the room dropped. Jennifer sat back in her chair, her jaw set, and for a moment, she said nothing. The silence stretched on just long enough to become uncomfortable, and you could see the other hosts exchanging glances, trying to gauge whether they should jump in or let this play out. When Jennifer finally spoke, her voice was ice. She said that she found it interesting that Sunny would choose to ambush her with tabloid gossip dressed up as journalism, that she had come on the show expecting a professional conversation, not an attack masquerading as an interview. She pointed out that Sunny herself had faced criticism in her career, that perhaps they should discuss some of those controversies if they were going to air everyone's dirty laundry on national television. The audience gasped. This wasn't the scripted, polite discourse they had tuned in for. This was real conflict, raw and unfiltered, happening right in front of them. Sunny didn't back down. In fact, she leaned in harder. She clarified that these weren't tabloid rumors, that these were accounts from real people with real grievances, and that as someone with Jennifer's platform and influence, there was a responsibility to address how she wielded that power. She said that asking tough questions wasn't an ambush, it was journalism, and if Jennifer couldn't handle being held accountable, perhaps she shouldn't be doing press tours. Jennifer's eyes flashed. She fired back that Sunny had no idea what it was like to build an empire from nothing, to fight for every opportunity in an industry that constantly tried to diminish her, to maintain excellence year after year, while everyone waited for her to fail. She said that Sunny sat in her comfortable chair judging people without understanding the sacrifices and the pressure that it was easy to critique from the sidelines. Whoopi tried to interject, to bring the temperature down and redirect the conversation, but both women were locked in now. Sunny countered that success didn't give anyone the right to mistreat people, that there were plenty of successful individuals who managed to maintain their standards without leaving a trail of hurt and traumatized staff in their wake. She asked Jennifer directly if she was willing to deny the allegations, to look into the camera and say that she had never been difficult, never been unreasonable, never created an environment where people felt undervalued or disrespected. Jennifer stood up, not abruptly, but deliberately, a clear signal that she was done with this conversation. She said that she didn't need to justify herself to anyone, least of all to someone who had turned what should have been a respectful interview into a personal attack. She told Sunny that she had crossed a line, that there was a difference between asking hard questions and being disrespectful, and that Sunny had clearly chosen the latter. But Sunny wasn't finished. She stood as well, maintaining eye contact with Jennifer, and said that the truth wasn't an attack, that accountability wasn't disrespect, and that if Jennifer couldn't handle honest questions about her behavior, that in itself was telling. She suggested that maybe the problem wasn't the questions being asked, but rather Jennifer's unwillingness to face them. That's when Jennifer's composure cracked. Her voice rose as she told Sunny that she had no right to sit there and lecture her about accountability, that Sunny herself had made mistakes and poor choices in her career, and that the difference between them was that Jennifer owned her decisions instead of hiding behind false righteousness. She said that Jennifer's face flushed red. She pointed her finger across the table at Sunny and said that she didn't need a lecture on self-reflection from someone who made a career out of judging others from a position of moral superiority. She accused Sunny of using her platform not to inform or educate, but to tear people down, to build herself up by making others look small. She said that Sunny had turned what should have been a conversation into an interrogation, and that she refused to participate in it any longer. Sunny crossed her arms and replied that if Jennifer felt interrogated, perhaps it was because she had something to hide. She said that every question she had asked was fair, was relevant, and was in the public interest, and that Jennifer's defensiveness spoke volumes. She told Jennifer that walking away from hard questions was a pattern, that it was easier to play the victim than to actually address legitimate concerns about how she treated the people who worked for her. The audience was completely silent now. This had gone so far beyond typical daytime television drama that no one quite knew how to react. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others were leaning forward in their seats, captivated by the raw authenticity of what was unfolding. Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it. She said that Sunny had no idea what it meant to be victimized, that she had never had to fight the way Jennifer had fought, never had to prove herself over and over again in an industry designed to keep people like her out. She said that Sunny sat in her position of privilege, with her law degree and her platform, and passed judgment on people who had clawed their way up from nothing. She told Sunny that it was easy to be righteous when you had never really struggled. That struck a nerve. Sunny's voice shook slightly as she responded, pointing out that Jennifer knew nothing about her struggles, about what she had faced or overcome in her own life and career. She said that Jennifer's assumption that she didn't understand hardship was not only wrong, but insulting, and that it revealed exactly the kind of dismissive attitude that people had been complaining about. She told Jennifer that struggle didn't give anyone the right to become the very thing they had once fought against, that surviving hardship should create empathy, not excuse cruelty. Jennifer shook her head and said that Sunny was twisting everything, making this about something it wasn't. She insisted that she had never been cruel, that she had high standards and expected excellence, and that there was nothing wrong with that. She said that people who couldn't handle those standards, who couldn't keep up with the pace and demands of her world, often blamed her instead of looking at their own shortcomings. She told Sunny that not every complaint was valid, that not every disgruntled employee was telling the truth, and that it was irresponsible journalism to present one-sided stories as fact. Sunny fired back immediately. She said that when multiple people from different times and different projects all tell similar stories, it stops being about individual shortcomings and starts being about a pattern of behavior. She pointed out that Jennifer had the resources, the platform, and the power to address these concerns head-on, to meet with the people making these allegations, to perhaps even apologize if she had caused harm, but instead she was sitting there deflecting and attacking. She asked Jennifer point-blank if she had ever, even once, considered that maybe some of the criticism was warranted. Jennifer's voice went quiet, which was somehow more menacing than when she had been loud. She said that she had considered it, had lost sleep over it, had questioned herself endlessly throughout her career, but that she had ultimately decided that she couldn't please everyone, and that trying to do so would destroy her. She said that Sunny was asking her to apologize for being demanding, for having standards, for expecting people to deliver on what they were paid to deliver, and that she would never apologize for that. She told Sunny that the real story here wasn't about her behavior. It was about how women, especially women of color, were constantly expected to be soft and accommodating, to smile through everything and never demand excellence. Sunny's eyes narrowed. She said that Jennifer was now trying to hide behind identity politics, using legitimate issues of sexism and racism as a shield for behavior that had nothing to do with those things. She said that holding someone accountable for how they treat people wasn't about gender or race, it was about basic human decency. She told Jennifer that plenty of successful women manage to maintain high standards without creating toxic environments, and that using discrimination as an excuse for poor behavior was actually harmful to the causes Jennifer claimed to care about. The producers were now visibly panicking in the background. You could see them making frantic hand signals, trying to figure out how to end this segment without making things worse. But both women were too far gone to notice, or Jennifer slammed her hand on the table, the sound echoing through the studio. She said that Sunny had crossed every line of professional conduct, that she had weaponized her position to humiliate a guest, and that she would be hearing from her lawyers about this ambush. She said that there were consequences for slander, for using a platform to destroy someone's reputation, and that Sunny had just made a very costly mistake. Sunny's eyebrows shot up. She said that threatening legal action was a predictable move from someone who had run out of actual arguments. She told Jennifer that truth was an absolute defense against slander, and that every single thing she had referenced could be backed up with documentation. She said that Jennifer could threaten lawsuits all she wanted, but that wouldn't change the facts, wouldn't erase the experiences of the people who had come forward with their stories. She added that trying to silence critics with legal threats was just another form of the bullying behavior they had been discussing. Jennifer's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. She said that Sunny had no idea who she was dealing with, that she had survived and thrived in an industry 1,000 times tougher than daytime talk television, and that Sunny's little power trip was going to cost her dearly. She told Sunny that she had made an enemy today, and that she would come to regret her choices. The other hosts were now actively trying to physically separate the two women, with Joy and Anna Navarro both standing and positioning themselves between Jennifer and Sunny. But Sunny wasn't intimidated. She leaned around them and told Jennifer that she didn't respond well to threats, that intimidation tactics might work on people who depended on Jennifer for their livelihoods, but that she had her own platform and her own voice, and Jennifer couldn't touch that. She said that this entire meltdown was proving every single point she had been trying to make about how Jennifer handled conflict and criticism. Jennifer grabbed her microphone and ripped it off, the equipment clattering onto the table. She said that she was done giving this show ratings, done participating in this circus, and that everyone watching should know exactly what kind of ambush journalism The View was practicing. She told the audience that they had witnessed a hit job, plain and simple, and that this was what happened when talk shows prioritized controversy over integrity. Sunny responded by saying that the audience had indeed witnessed something important. They had seen what happened when someone with unchecked power was finally held accountable, when their carefully managed image was challenged by uncomfortable truths. She said that Jennifer's reaction, her anger and threats, and victim playing, told the viewers everything they needed to know about the validity of the allegations against her. Whoopi raised her voice, trying to restore order, telling both of them that this had gone far enough and that they needed to end this now. She said that clearly this interview had brought up strong feelings on both sides, but that they needed to find a way to conclude this professionally. Jennifer turned to Whoopi and said that there was nothing professional about what had just happened, that Sunny had destroyed any pretense of professionalism the moment she decided to use this platform for a personal vendetta. She said she had expected better from The View, had expected to be treated with basic respect, and that she had been completely blindsided by the hostility. Sunny cut in, saying that Jennifer had been blindsided by basic questions about public allegations, which again suggested that she lived in such a bubble of control that any challenge to her narrative felt like an attack. She said that if Jennifer considered these questions hostile, she really needed to examine her relationship with accountability. Jennifer grabbed her bag and started to walk off the set. She said over her shoulder that she didn't need to sit there and be insulted, that she had better things to do with her time than engage with someone so determined to misrepresent her. She told the producers that they should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this to happen, for setting up a guest to be attacked for ratings. But Sunny wasn't going to let her have the last word. She called out to Jennifer, saying that walking away was exactly what she always did when things got uncomfortable, that it was her signature move. She said that Jennifer could storm off the set, could threaten lawsuits, could play the victim to whoever would listen, but that it wouldn't change the truth. Jennifer spun around, her face contorted with rage. She marched back toward the table and said that she had listened, had given Sunny every opportunity to have a real conversation, but that Sunny had been more interested in performing for the cameras than actually engaging. She said that Sunny didn't want dialogue, she wanted a takedown, and that she had gotten exactly what she wanted. She told Sunny that she hoped it was worth it, hoped the viral clip and the attention was worth destroying any credibility she had as a journalist. Sunny stood up again, matching Jennifer's energy. She said that her credibility came from asking hard questions, from not backing down when powerful people tried to intimidate her, and that this interview had only reinforced that. She told Jennifer that the only person who had destroyed anything today was Jennifer herself, who had shown the world exactly who she was when faced with the slightest bit of accountability. At this point, producers were rushing onto the set. Security personnel were hovering at the edges of the stage, clearly unsure whether they needed to intervene. Jennifer noticed the security presence and let out a bitter laugh. She said that of course they were bringing in security, making her look like she was the problem, when all she had done was defend herself against an unprovoked attack. She told